welcome to my first ever sketchbook tour. In this video, I'm going to show you all the artworks that I created for the Peachtober challenge. And for those of you who are interested, I'm using a marker sketchbook by Heyy. In here you can see all the information about the sketchbook. And before I start going through each artwork, I wanted to show you my planning page. And here is where I basically wrote why I wanted to complete the challenge and what I wanted to get out of it. Here I drew a girl with a pencil in her hand, ready to go on a new adventure. And this takes us to the next page, which is a table that I created to keep me motivated, and I wanted to create a place where I can see my progress. And now let me take you on my 31-day tour. This was actually my third attempt because before this I actually had a different idea. I wanted to have a bee looking into a jar of honey, and I wanted to go for something more creative. So then I brainstormed a bit about the word itself, and I decided to draw something from my imagination, and I didn't use any references. Moving to the next one, we have the word cosmos. And here I really wanted to show how we can find inspiration within us, and it is already there. And here I used oil pastels, and I really fell in love with them, and you will see multiple artworks that I created with them throughout the month. I really love the color scheme of day 3. I struggled a bit with her hand because I wanted to show that she has a piece of the cloud in her hand and she's eating it because it's made out of cotton candy. For this one I used soft color pencils and Heyy markers. Here I chose to have a plate of sushi, and I really wanted to have an actual grub as part of the artwork. I thought about a food that would kind of fit in with the grub, and I decided to choose sushi. It was actually my first time drawing food, and I'm really happy with how the salmon sushi turned out. This one is actually one of my least preferred artworks. And this is basically because I wanted to show a sprig sort of growing through their journey. But because of the way I drew the eyes, it kind of ended up looking a bit creepy. And I also wrote the letters a bit too close to each other, so it's very hard to read the quote as well. Day 6 is one of my favorites. In my previous video I did speak about it more in detail, but basically this was an artwork that I drew directly from a photo reference, and this photo was taken by my boyfriend on our holiday in London, and this now holds that memory, which will be nice to go back to every time I see the sketchbook. When you want something, all the universe conspires to help you achieve it. So the word for the day was crater, and I created a crater in the ground using watercolor and oil pastels. And I had this idea of an astronaut coming from the crater and sort of reaching for the stars. Next we have dream, and here I wanted to draw someone falling because I feel like we all have that dream where we keep falling in our sleep, and I wanted to show this in this artwork. This one was drawn on my birthday, and coincidentally the word is blue, and on this day I woke up very sick, so this was just what I was able to come up with on that day. That's the reason for me using a balloon and covering her face. I wasn't that happy with the result, but given that I was sick, I didn't put too much pressure on myself to finish it. The next one I really love. It could be because I do like drinking a lot of teas, and the expression on the lemon's face is really just how I feel when I drink a warm cup of tea. This is another one that I'm not really proud of. I feel like the proportions are a bit off, but this was one of those days where I kind of found it hard to create. I really try to experiment with different colors here, and overall I love the autumn feel and the colorful lines around it. This is another one of my favorites because I really love squirrels, and you can just see how peaceful and calm this is. And I feel like this really reflects the feeling of home. The next one is very simple, and here I use a cheap brand of watercolor markers, and I basically drew a bunch of lines, but I really love how colorful it turned out. And actually from this point onwards, I stopped writing the quotes directly on the artwork, just in case maybe one day I'll create a print of any of these. Another one of my favorites is day 14. I've managed to create a whole environment here, and I've included so many little details that when you focus on them, it gives more meaning to the artwork. And if you've ever had a garden, this is literally the feeling of having one, where you have all these little cute things and little creatures start showing up and they fill your garden with life. I remember I did this one after a long day at work, and I also wanted to go out that day, so I only had about 2 hours to complete it, and I'm really happy with the result because it was such a short time. And here I only used gouache. Another one of my favorites, and I've received comments about this one. Here I wanted to create a friendship between a bear and a mouse, and the warmth color scheme that I used really brings this vibe. For this one, I mainly used colored pencils, but I also added in some details with a fine liner pen and a white gouache. Day 17 was one of those days where I really didn't feel like creating something, and I wanted to draw a rabbit for some reason, so I decided to just go with the flow and somehow implement the word into it, and this is how I created this. I really like this one, and this is because when you look at it, it looks very simple, but what I like is the flow of the lines used and the details they create. The most thing that I like about this one is the color scheme. On this day, I really felt like drawing a portrait, and I thought about creating a blue candle. And after this one, I kind of fell in love with the gold and copper acrylic ink. During this day, I realized how hard it is to draw light, and here my idea was to create a magical tree with little houses hanging from it that are in a form of a bulb. My idea here was to show a bunch of friends having fun and vibing together, and the fact that the background is so empty, it really makes you focus on the action. Here I wanted to show someone approaching a tunnel, and I personally love purple, and I wanted to use this color scheme for this specific one. Here I thought of having a message on a beach, and I was like, what's better than having a turtle writing on the beach to inspire others? Turtles face many threats, and here I wanted to create a positive environment where the turtle is safe and happy in their home. This day was a challenge, and I had to give this one multiple tries. And it was getting really late, so I just stuck with this one because it was the best I could do on that day. Life is a gift. Wake up every day and realize that. And I wanted to have someone underwater discovering these beautiful corals. But I do wish that they were a bit more brighter to stand out a bit more. I really ended up loving this one. At the beginning, it was looking a bit messy, but once I added the yellow background, it really all came together. And the word for this day was ladybug, and I wanted to have someone in a field of flowers dressed as a ladybug, so I'm really happy with this one. Next we have pond, so I decided to make day 27 all about frogs. And after drawing one in the garden, I really enjoyed it. I also really like how the lily pads turned out. Day 28 is rather simple. I wanted to draw a Venus flytrap and a little boy going on an adventure. And here we have the word float, and again I felt that autumn vibe and I wanted to draw those orange and red colors. So I had the idea of having a leaf floating on water and someone being cozy and sleeping inside of the leaf. It was very random, but I really loved the idea. In this one, I really wanted to show growth because that's what I've experienced during this challenge. So here I created a peaceful statue with moss growing and spreading all around it. And I realized that I didn't really use much gouache during the challenge, so I only decided to use it. And the last one is spooky. So I started with a pumpkin and then dressed it up as a ghost. I feel like this was a very go with the flow drawing, and I kind of added elements as I went along without really overthinking it. And because the character is so different than what you would expect a costume Halloween to be, I wanted to find a quote that would express this. And I managed to find this one. Don't be afraid of being different, be afraid of being the same as everyone else. And here it is, the 30-day sketchbook tour. And whilst the challenge was not easy, I'm happy that I managed to complete it and I learned how to be happy and confident in my work. I got to experiment with so many different art supplies, and the fact that I drew something every day without a plan really made me get as creative as I could. I really hope that you enjoyed this sketchbook tour, and let me know down in the comments which artwork was your favorite. Thank you for your support, and I'm sending you lots of positivity. Bye!